Friday, April 16th, 2004, my son Simon woke up with this primal shriek. It was a very strange scream.
It's every parent's worst nightmare, but it is a haunting reality for Everly Macario. Out of the blue, her healthy 18-month-old son, Simon, fell gravely ill.
And it started to get worse and worse. And at one point I touched his cheeks and they were ice cold. And I just, my heart stopped.
Everly rushed him to the hospital, but there was nothing the doctors could do. His vital organs failed, and he was dead the next day. Doctors later determined Simon had been ravaged by the deadly staph infection known as methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus, or MRSA. Each year, it infects 65,000 Americans, killing more than 19,000 of them, leaving a path of pain and sadness. And now, the frustrating search for a way to control the MRSA epidemic has moved off the planet to a sophisticated laboratory in space.
I think we've identified, the real #1 opportunity to utilize the International Space Station.
Entrepreneur Tom Pickens is chairman of the Austin-based company called Astrogenetix.
3, 2, 1, 0.
The company, once known as SpaceHab, has 25 years of experience flying scientific experiments in space on the shuttle and space station. Astrogenetix is sending MRSA and other bacteria to the station because it may be the best place on or off Earth to see the genetic guideposts that can lead researchers to vaccines.
We can do experiments that remove the effects of gravity and treat it as a controllable variable. And you never know what kind of amazing scientific discovery or what important exploration element would come from that work.
Taking gravity out of the equation does some remarkable and thus far unexplainable things to microbes like MRSA.
So what appears to be happening in space is as the bacteria grow in their growth medium, they seem to be expressing different genetic code than they do on Earth.
John Porter is CEO of Astrogenetix. He has 15 years of experience in the biotech field. Wherever they are developed, the hunt for vaccines begins by carefully examining the genetic makeup of the bug, determining what genes make us sick, then removing them, leaving the rest of the genetic fingerprint intact.
And as long as the bug doesn't infect you, then it's a good vaccine candidate. So what we look for in space is we actually look for the genes that seem to increase virulence, and those are the genes we try to delete.
And we got Nicole Stott, and we're performing the NLP Vaccine 5 activation procedure.
Astrogenetix has successfully completed 10 missions through 2010, sending the bacteria to the space station in canisters called group activation packs. Astronauts turn a crank on the top to start and stop the experiments. In microgravity, the genes act differently. Those that are virulent become much stronger and thus more easily identifiable. It offers researchers a shortcut in the tedious hunt that can take a decade in a lab on Earth. It's akin to randomly picking numbers in a phone book.
And essentially when we send things to space, instead of looking at the entire United States, I might be looking at the city of Austin, Texas. So it allows me to hone in on a specific set of genes that appear to have a lot to do with virulence or enhanced virulence.
Inside the experiment canister, the bacteria wash over microscopic roundworms that have been engineered to mimic human cells. The most virulent bacteria infect them just as they would us, flagging the most deadly microbes for follow-up tests. Before they started working on the MRSA vaccine, Astrogenetix flew the Salmonella bacteria to space 4 times.
I think at the end of the day, we have made some discoveries that are leading us down the path to a vaccine candidate for Salmonella. We have at least one gene deletion now that creates an attenuated live vaccine for Salmonella.
And we're excited because one of the components developed on the space station as a potential vaccine for food poisoning is now being applied as an investigational new drug. And once that's achieved by the Food and Drug Administration, then we'll move on into clinical trials.
Former NASA astronaut Leroy Chow was commander of the space station in 2004.
It's got all the capabilities and equipment in there, including advanced ones like ultrasound and including more conventional laboratory equipment to do wet chemistry and wet biology. You know, all this is set up so that the imaginations of the professors and other researchers on the ground that come up with the experiments to be done in space, they really have a vastly larger array of things to work with than they had in the past. So I think if there's going to be a breakthrough, it will be in the next few years.
Too late to save Everly Macario's son, Simon, but maybe not for others in the not-too-distant future.
The dream would be to have a vaccine. My understanding, though, is that it's taking a long time to develop, but I would certainly vaccinate my children with the MRSA vaccine. I would vaccinate myself.
It's possible, after all is said and done, the biggest discovery that comes from the space station may be learning the value of the Discovery platform itself.
That's the real excitement, is the potential for building a company on a new drug development platform. That is really exciting.
You never know how or where you may find a breakthrough, and this amazing laboratory in space may help us solve problems here on Earth in ways that were once hard to imagine.